What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. Today's video, we're going to give you our Week 1 recap of the NFL. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Trash Talkers, before we get into Overreaction Monday, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was from Week 1 of the NFL season. Now, onto the video. All right, Nick, Week 1 is officially in the books. Obviously, big upsets, big news all around the NFL. A lot of things happening, a lot of not so great things happening. And honestly, for you guys out there, we probably are going to sound a little bit different for the foreseeable future. We got to go to the Patriots game. Unfortunately, they did not win, but we screamed our asses off, and here we are. So, with that being said, please deal with our voices for right now, and I promise that we will get them healthy and ready to go. That being said, Nick, why don't you start us off with your notes from around the league and what is your overreaction for this Monday?
Yeah, we saw a lot of things happen, and this really did not go according to plan for a lot of teams. In fact, normally you see defenses as the slowpokes of the team, right? They're the ones who hold their teams back. They don't perform up to expectations, and it's just offensive output after offensive output. And this week, it was all about the defenses. Offenses pretty much did not show up in most games. And we saw fumble after fumble after fumble from every single position on the offensive side of the ball. It was absolutely incredible how these teams just did not know how to take care of the football. And you wonder what they did in preseason to get ready for this game. It's just unbelievable that we see all these mistakes happening from guys who are veterans, some of the best players in the NFL. It really is unbelievable. I know they'll get it straightened out, but it's just something I never expected to happen. But for my first overreaction of the week, the rookie quarterbacks looked terrible. Overall, they just looked bad. Every single rookie quarterback did get a touchdown, surprisingly, but when you look at the big names, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, these guys who started their games did not perform up to expectations. Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions against the Houston Texans. Zach Wilson, sacked 6 times, fumbled, threw an interception to the Panthers defense. And then Mac Jones didn't throw any interceptions, but he didn't clutch it up in the end, as a lot of Patriot fans are expecting him to do. He is supposed to be the replacement to Tom Brady, and so far, he just has not done it. I expect more from all three of these guys. I expect them to be top 15 quarterbacks as they were chosen to be. I want to see these guys be the franchise quarterbacks they're supposed to be, but I did not see anything that gives me the confidence thinking they can do the job moving forward. I think there's so much room for improvement, and they've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Mac Jones had the best day out of all three of these rookies, and we even, again, being at the game, we said to ourselves and to each other, we've got to see more from this kid. We've got to see this offense open up to him, and he's got to hit better throws. So if he was the best of those three, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of improvement for all three. Moving on, one of my overreactions is that the Minnesota Vikings are in absolute turmoil. This team got brought to the brink by the Cincinnati Bengals by a wide receiver who said he couldn't see the football because it didn't have white stripes on it. We're talking about Joe Burrow, who looked absolutely terrible. I mean, listen, there's no way to go about this except for the fact that the Vikings defense is absolutely atrocious. And I was a high buyer on these guys. I thought they were going to turn it around. I thought last year was a fluke because of all the injuries and all the players that they lost in free agency on the back end of that defense. They replenished all of that. They got healthy, and all of a sudden, they still can't stop a nosebleed. Mike Zimmer's got a lot of work to do. And the Cincinnati Bengals, it doesn't matter if they won by a foot or a mile, they won. And they are essentially the better team at this point in time. The Minnesota Vikings have a lot of work to do.
They have a lot of work to do, and I'm looking right at that secondary. I want to see them improve because right now they're the ones holding back this entire thing. I want to see Danielle Hunter get back to his form. He did not look like he always does. I want to see Mike Zimmer get this defense in shape because if he doesn't, he's already on the hot seat. He'll be out before anyone else. Next up, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers absolutely getting schooled by Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints in what was an absolute blowout, the biggest blowout of the week. The Packers offense scored fewer points than any other team in the NFL. That is unbelievable. Aaron Rodgers is the reigning NFL MVP who only threw 5 interceptions last season. In 3 plays, he threw 2 interceptions to the New Orleans Saints defense, a defense that got obliterated this offseason when they had to release players left and right and let them walk in free agency because they could not afford them. But they were able to stay strong, and Sean Payton proved that it doesn't matter who's out there as long as you can build a team, as long as you can coach players and they're willing to accept that coaching, you can put it all together. This Packers team, their offensive line is in shambles, and it looks like it's all stemming from that. Rodgers doesn't feel comfortable in the pocket. Aaron Jones has no running lanes, and Devontae Adams is not going to get targets if Aaron Rodgers has no time. There is so much room for improvement on the Packers right now, and they've got to get it going because this is just not acceptable from Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I want to see more from them. The Saints, they really look great in this one. Jameis Winston, he had 5 touchdowns, but he only threw for 148 yards. He didn't even average 30 yards per touchdown. I want to see him be a little bit more consistent. I want to see this moving forward, and he did it with a lot of no-name players, so props to him for what he was able to do and what Sean Payton has been able to do so far. But right now, the Packers are in a bad spot, and the Saints are looking pretty bright with Jameis Winston as the new QB1.
Aaron Rodgers needs to spend less time sending cryptic messages about whether he's going to play football or not and actually just get down to it and play some goddamn football, because what I saw was not football. It was just whack-a-mole and paddywhack, because this guy is just, he's not comfortable in the pocket, but it doesn't matter. You got to play with the people that are out there. You've got to get that ball out. You have to command this offense. We know who you are, the reigning NFL MVP. So if you can't command this offense to a way that you're going to get the ball out faster, work your screens, work your offense into a different formation. Listen, David Bakhtiari can only be the Achilles heel so much. If you're saying that he is going to be the lifeblood of this offense, then is Aaron Rodgers even the guy that we thought he was going to be? At the end of the day, the Packers are in a bad spot, and if Aaron Rodgers is more focused on where he's playing in the future and not what he's doing right now, I don't see it getting much better. Next up for my overreaction, I'm going to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and honestly, I think that the Fitz magic is all but over at this point. Now, we did see him go down with a hip injury, but before that, it was injury to my eyes watching what I saw. This guy was terrible. I mean, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. F1, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, was nowhere to be found with the football because this guy couldn't hit anything. You saw Cam Sims and Diami Brown get open. They couldn't be found. Antonio Gibson, he struggled because they didn't have to fear what Ryan Fitzpatrick was putting out there. And on top of that, Logan Thomas struggled a little bit early on in this game. Usher in the era of Taylor Heineke, and all of a sudden things started to open up. This offense started to look much better. For people that are fantasy owners, you take a look at these guys and you say, okay, their value is probably going to go down. But for the Washington football team themselves, this is a more consistent option at the quarterback position. He's not going to be the turnover machine that we know Ryan Fitzpatrick to be. He is going to lead this offense as much as he possibly can. And what I like to say the most, he is a game manager, and that is not a negative connotation. That is something that I expect from him. Move the ball within the 20 and let your players do the rest of the work. Let them go up and get those high volume passes in the end zone. Let the running backs run through that offensive line. I expect a lot from this Washington football team. Taylor Heineke is now in command of what happens with this team moving forward.
How ironic is it that Ryan Fitzpatrick hurt his hip? Old man Fitzpatrick hurts his hip. Not a surprise there, but I've been talking about Taylor Heineke ever since that divisional matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. He was the real deal in that game. He was the biggest threat to the Buccaneers in that championship run, and now he's continuing that as he took over this team and absolutely brought life to this offense. They became a competitive team against the Chargers as soon as that change happened, and I think that Ron Rivera needs to take note of it. He needs to see what Taylor Heineke is actually capable of and start coaching him up to his potential, because this guy is the real deal. I don't care if he's 30, 31 years old. That doesn't matter to me. This guy has so much energy, and he's the guy who needs to be quarterbacking your team. For our final overreaction of the week, I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns living up to the hype that has been set around them. Their expectations have been set very high this season. The Cleveland Browns, we want to see them in the AFC Championship game. The Arizona Cardinals, we want to see them in the Super Bowl. The Arizona Cardinals absolutely destroyed the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry is known for destroying defenses in week 1 of the season. He had a horrible game, all thanks to J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones and the rest of this front seven, who obliterated the offensive line. Taylor Lewan, after the game, thanking Chandler Jones for exposing him, getting to the quarterback 5 times. It is the first time since Derek Thomas did it in 1998 that we've seen a guy get to the quarterback in the opener as much as we saw Chandler Jones do. This is unbelievable what this team is doing right now. Kyler Murray, 5 total touchdowns, looked fantastic, made some unbelievable throws, and he is loving how this team is working out. We're loving it as well. The Cleveland Browns, look, it didn't work out in the end. There were some hiccups, but these are things they can work through, and they're not going to make next time. The Cleveland Browns, they can get past these. They've already shown that they have the ability to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They absolutely had a monstrous beginning to this game. They continued that all the way into the end. They just fell apart. Kevin Stefanski's got a long way to go still with this team, but they have the personnel now to get the job done, get past big teams like the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. I fully expect the Browns to be at the top of the conference after everything I've seen from them so far in week 1.
Yeah, I think the overreaction here is that based on what we see in week 1, we both expect these teams to be in the championship game of their respective conferences. I take a look at what Kyler Murray was able to put out there, and just based on the stats that I saw, he spread the ball out better than Dak Prescott or even Tom Brady did. You take a look, he was hitting DeAndre Hopkins, he was hitting Christian Kirk, he was hitting Rondale Moore. AJ Green didn't even have a chance to get into this offense because the ball was being spread to so many other people. He just became the forgotten guy. On top of that, Kyler Murray is one of those guys that can scramble and do anything that you ask on the ground. I think with that upside, Kyler Murray could end up being one of the best quarterbacks that we have in the 2021 season. He's my dark horse MVP just from what I saw in week 1. On the flip side, we saw the Cleveland Browns and what they were able to do. I believe that this defense is for real. I think they can get after the passer really well. And what I expect to see from the Cleveland Browns this season is high pressure, a high octane intensity. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they are going to utilize Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in vast different ways that are going to allow them to keep the ball on the ground, keep that clock moving. And then with their ferocious defense, they're not going to allow too many points. You're not going to face Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill every single week. So at the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns have to be patting themselves on the back and say, we know we had them on the ropes. If Nick Chubb doesn't fumble, if there's not issues outside of our control, I believe at the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns could have easily taken this game home. All right, well, that's going to be all for week 1 Overreaction Monday. Let us know what you guys think about Overreaction Monday, if you think we should keep doing it or if we should change it up a bit. That'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It'll definitely help soothe our voices if you hit that subscribe button. And that'll be all for now. Thank you all. Peace and love.